So today we were trying to think about how to break up today and tomorrow's agenda, and we weren't quite sure how the timing would go. One of the things that we hear most frequently from facilitators is that they want more information from the credit by exam organizations, Cambridge exams, AP exams, International Baccalaureate exams, and CLEP exams. We also have the DSST exams, but we don't have a local or a consistent representative for that. So if you're not familiar, if you're new, part of the matrix reviews that we do in the ATF meetings is reviewing those exams for credit. And often faculty will ask questions about the content. We make some of those syllabi available. But what we have done for you guys today is we've invited representatives from Cambridge International Exam, from College Board, who oversees advanced placement and CLEP, and from International Baccalaureate. We told them not to join us until 10:45. So we have 14 minutes until they will be joining us. And so I don't know, Sian, if we want to pivot for a minute, give people a break, or if we want to advance some of the content that we're going to talk through tomorrow. Do you want to go over or give a break?
You know what? There's just two things that I would like to say, and then I think we can take a break. If you guys would like to, in preparation for this, I guess we'd call it professional development that we're about to sit through. One thing is I want to let you guys know that the virtual binders are up. So you can go into the chat lines, go through the virtual binders, and in your binder should be your list of ATFs that have been assigned. My request for you between today and when we convene again tomorrow is to go into that virtual binder and click on your Zoom links and make sure you can get in and make sure they work. And when you do that, it's set to record. Like as soon as you open the link, it will record, and I will get an email that says that the recording occurred, which tells me that you got in. So I know the whole cycle has happened. So let me take just a second and show you, because I think we have quite a few new people on here. Let me show you where these virtual binders are.
And while you're pulling that up, I will comment and add, Erin and I are still working through the ATF PowerPoint for this season. We do have our steering committee retreat next week. And so there's some content that we're going to add later. So that content, the PowerPoint slides, my video recording that we did for the first time last year, that content is old. We will be replacing that after next week, well in advance of the ATF season. But if you see those old links, just know they will be updated.
Okay, so can everybody see my screen okay? You can see the chat lines, yes? Okay. In Facilitator corner, right here, virtual binders is number 1. So if you pull that up by institution, so we'll just use Arizona State because they're first as an example here. Find your name, Tanea's first, so we'll use her. These are the 2 ATF meetings that she's been assigned. We'll pull up languages. You can click on the meeting link here and make sure you can get in, and then check the next one as well, business. Click the meeting link, which obviously I can't do because I'm already in a meeting, and make sure you can get in. So if everyone would please go through that process. We've got the quick reference, training resources, everything in the virtual binder. If you wouldn't mind going through that process between now and tomorrow to confirm that those meeting links are working, that would help me feel secure and comfortable knowing that we're ready for those ATF meetings when they start. September will be here before we know it. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, perfect. So Kelly, should we?
Yeah, I think we could take a break. I was just going to add to it really quickly. Even though I've used Zoom for 3 years, I often will be in a hurry and I'll click to log in Zoom. Attending a Zoom meeting is very, very different than hosting a Zoom meeting. And even though I do it on a regular basis, sometimes I will just be in a hurry and I'll click on the wrong thing, or I'll click in the wrong way and it will take me to the wrong place. That's why we ask you to log in ahead of time and just double check and make sure. It may ask you to log in with your ASU Right ID and password. It may ask you to do the single sign-on, the SSO. That's why we want you to practice several times ahead. If you get a message that says waiting for host to join, you know that's a sign that you've done something wrong. Because all of the links that CN has shown you that you're giving, you should be the host for that meeting, and you should be able to pull up and ask. The first thing you should see is join with your audio and join with your video. If you get anything other than that, you'll have to revisit the steps to get in. We have a whole series of steps on that, CN. So
yes. Yes, the other thing I was going to mention is that usually when you click in, if you get the message that says waiting for host to connect, that usually means you're not in your ASU Zoom account. That's typically what that means. So you might need to log out of, if you're from Yavapai and you have a Yavapai Zoom, or you're from NPC and have an NPC Zoom or PIMA or whatever it is, you're going to need to log out of that account, then log back in using SSO to get into your ASU account so that the system will recognize you according to your ASU Right ID and your courtesy affiliate Zoom account that ASU has provided. So if you're getting that fail message, like Kelly said, try logging out and logging back in again.
Because I think, I mean, I would say a majority of the issues that we've had with Zoom the last 2 years have been that exact thing. A facilitator or a chair or somebody's not able to access the link correctly, because it's not just as a participant, it's the host capabilities. So it's 10:37, CN, what do you think? I told our people to join us at about 11:45, but we should give them a couple minutes to get oriented. What if we give everybody a 15-minute break? And so we come back here at 10:55. Let's call it 10:55.
Sounds perfect.
And if you just need to shut off your video, or whatever, you can come back. Thanks for being patient with us as we try to puzzle piece different parts of today together.
And I'm going to pause the recording until we start back again.
Introduce everybody and tell everybody kind of
yes,
what we're going to be doing.
Yes,
okay.
I just started the recording again. So for the sake of the video, took a little break. Oh, we've got someone else coming in. For the sake of the video, we just took a little bit of a break, and now we are moving into the next part of our agenda. And Kelly, I'll let you tee it off.
Great. So as I mentioned before our break, we have invited representatives from the 3 different credit by exam organizations that we work most closely with. We have someone here from Cambridge, we have someone here from College Board, and we have 2 people here from International Baccalaureate. We're going to give each person 20 minutes to go through and hit some of the high notes. We've teed them up with information that would be helpful to you when faculty ask questions, usually about course content, how they can find more course content, how they can find sample exams. When people have questions, that's typically what they are. And so we're going to go in alphabetical order by organization. So Cambridge is going to go first, then College Board, then International Baccalaureate. We're going to ask that you guys hold your questions until we're done with each of their 20 minutes. So we can have the 20 minutes to each person to speak, and then questions at noon. So 11 to 11:20 will be Adina Chapman from Cambridge. Suzanne McGurk from College Board will do 11:20 to 11:40. And then either or both Amy Baumke and Jake Davis from International Baccalaureate will finish us up at 11:40 to noon. Did I get everything good? We're ready to go? All right, I will turn it over to Adina.
Thank you, Kelly, so much for this opportunity. And for everyone's time, I'm just going to share my screen here. Go ahead and run a few PowerPoint slides. And I know that Arizona's had a wonderful relationship with Cambridge for over a decade. So I didn't want to take too much time and bore you with our background, but I have just a few slides. And then I wanted to delve into some issues that I would love to work with the faculty on around credit and evaluating our courses, and make sure that you have everything you need to make informed decisions. So just briefly, for anyone who's new, we are actually a division of the University of Cambridge in England, and we're the world's largest provider of international education, nearly 2 million students in over 10,000 Cambridge schools in almost 170 countries. We do offer an integrated instructional program aligning curriculum, assessment, and teaching and learning for grades. We're starting to offer preschool through grades 12. And we serve students with varying abilities, socioeconomic and cultural backgrounds, in primary language. And We've been doing this, like I said, for almost 170 years. Within Arizona, we've had a wonderful relationship with AZTransfer and the universities, and we really just want to, make sure that we're back on track and you have the latest information from us so that Cambridge students are receiving credit and matriculating effectively into your colleges and universities. I put up a slide here, which just shows our Cambridge pathway, in that I'll just be focusing on talking about that advanced coursework, such as my colleagues at AP and IB will be as well. And we do offer some advanced high school coursework called A and AS levels in 55 subjects. Our students, the curriculum is backward designed, it's student-centered, it's spiraled with a strong emphasis on skill development. So that's one thing that Kelly, brought to our attention is there's been a new policy. There's a real focus on reviewing curriculum from an outcomes-based lens, I believe, across your state. So that's something I want to share with you, that you can find all those skills and outcomes within our curriculum. We also embed student learning attributes within our curriculum for all grades. And our performance-based assessments that measure critical thinking are more accessible to all learners, regardless of their background. And we have been able to demonstrate some strong impact on university progression, which I do have some studies I'll share with you briefly. So because we're probably the least known in the United States, I just want to make some key points because the words AS and A level seem a bit foreign in a US context, but many of you, like I've said, have become familiar with our curriculum. Just to show you the difference, I get a lot of questions about the difference between an AS and an A level. And an AS, I know we're more concerned about the content and the outcomes, and that's why I will give you full access to all of our curriculum, including exams and stuff. But just so you know, on par, an AS level is offered across 1 year in high school. It's approximately 180 contact hours, and it's usually offered in a junior or senior year in the US, for example, context. A level is actually 360 class contact hours. It's usually offered over 2 years, and our curriculum is international in outlook and relevance. I'll give you a brief snapshot and share all these slides with you guys. This is the most updated list of our course offerings, and they do have the course curriculum code next to them so that when I send you the faculty toolkit, you'll be able to quickly identify the courses that you want to review and determine equivalencies for. I did pull together, I looked at our global and our US top 10 courses, and then I kind of merged them. I actually wanted to talk to you guys about some of the courses that I would love to, have more in-depth dialogues with, or just make sure that you've got all the information you need to make an informed decision in Arizona. So I was able to look through the AZTransfer and look at any credit gaps. And you're giving excellent credit in the areas of like biology, chemistry, mathematics, economics, art and design, music and drama. But I wanted to highlight there was just a few other areas where we've got some changes going on, and I'd love, to work with you more closely. So history, we currently actually are redesigning US history. We also have we have a world history and a European history subsections. I noticed that there's not a lot of credit given for history, so I'm hoping that our redesign of that curriculum would inform it. And if there's any historians out there who would love to, work with us, we do provide modest stipends to review our curriculum and give feedback on what you think a U.S. history course should entail. With physics, I noticed that physics is one of our very strong courses. ASU is the only one of the 3 universities currently giving credit. So that was just something I wanted to bring up and say, is there something in the physics curriculum that the faculty could, enlighten us about, or does it just need a closer look because we've all been through COVID and we need to reevaluate it? Classical studies just made our top 10 list, and currently it isn't being granted any credit at the A or the AS level. And it may just not fit the American curriculum, but I wanted to bring that up just in case it's just something that hasn't been reviewed. But it has become increasingly popular in the US context. Business is given an elective credit, and that may be as much as we can get. Chinese is given credit for a grade of C or higher. And I'll talk to you about the grading scale in just a minute. And then physical education may or may not have a corresponding course. Likewise, I looked at the AS level courses, and these are both global and international. One of the areas of concern, and we're starting to convene faculty this month around our English portfolio, is that we noticed that there's on the AS English language, you get credit on the A level, but on the AS level, we're not getting as much credit. And so we're open to faculty working with us, like I said, on our groups to review our curriculum and find out if there's something that's missing. If, you know, the British developed this globally and it might not quite align with the Americans, but is there something that's missing that you would love to see in our English language course that we could definitely, you know, add in? And again, you see physics, classical studies, and then economics at the A level is getting credit, but not at the AS level. So we've just noticed a little bit less credit over the last decade, especially in the last 4 or 5 years. And I understand there's a lot of gen ed reform taking place in Arizona, and I've worked with that in Kentucky. So I thought it was a nice time to kind of revisit some of these specific subjects and see if there was an opportunity to grant students more credit. So real quickly here, we have what I call a faculty toolkit, and it includes our US British grading chart comparisons, our faculty resources, which we do offer all of our curriculum online. It's completely open. You don't have to have a password to access the curriculum. But what I do in addition for faculty groups, and provide this to Kelly and her staff, is we also don't reuse any test questions. So we can provide you with former questions, exams, and some samples of student work. We have rubrics available, and I have a link that I will share with you with all of this information so that you guys can dig in deep and look at those student learning outcomes and assessments. I also want to just briefly say that probably our biggest difference between the US and Britain is our grading scale, because Arizona was really good about, you know, recognizing that some courses can get credit for an E or above. I just want to remind everyone that a grade of E in Great Britain is actually equivalent to a US grade of C. And we're looking for parity. So with the US system, and these grade comparisons can be, I've cited at the bottom here, AcroEdge, Fulbright has cited this same grid before. There's WES, so there's both domestic and international. And as I said, again, I won't repeat this, but this is what you'll find in our toolkit that I'll send out to you, where you can have access to all of this information for your review. And the credit recommendations that are coming from ACRO and WES, as well as several other credentialing bodies, approximately 5 or 6 now, everyone I've talked to recommends the same types of credit, whether it's domestic or international. And that is 3 to 4 credits for an AS level, and twice as much, 6 to 8 credits. And it really depends on whether that course comes with a lab component in the sciences. So just wanted to refresh that these are what all the international and domestic credentialing bodies are recommending. I actually cited some of their examples from WES of how to grant appropriate credit for, they give an example of a Math 101 and 102, which actually in Arizona, I'm seeing very strong math credits. I know that pre-pandemic, I actually presented to the biology ATF. It's probably been 4 or 5 years now, and we had some research done. It had to do with our mapping we had done from AP to AS. And as a result of that research, I believe the universities are now, it says online that they're giving credit for our AS level biology. So that's the kind of thing where if you want to reach out to me, I'm happy to come in person. I live in Colorado, or virtually Skype with you and share with you in-depth research at a more granular level. Real quickly here, because I know I'm running on my time, is during the pandemic, we actually had some time to do some research on subsequent course performance of Cambridge students that were awarded credit for prerequisite courses. And what we wanted to do is we needed to test in a large volume of students, and we were able to get those at Florida State University, a large cohort, 8,000 students, of how are those students performing when they go into the subsequent course. And we wanted to know how are students in particular that have a British grade of E, which is equivalent to a US grade of C. So we looked at these 6 broad general education categories. And this is just, I won't read it to you, but this is just our context and our definitely our definitions for who was included in this cohort. Students who enrolled at FSU from fall of 2016 to fall of 2019, and were given credit for both for an E or higher on their A and or their AS levels. And we did have a control group of all students. And then we looked at the subsequent courses, and we'll define those more clearly here in a second. And what is a passing grade? It was defined as a GPA of 2.0 or higher. And the results, the results were quite positive. We felt like we had indications of this, but this is our first subsequent course enrollment study. You can see here that the students with an E or above, the Cambridge students in A and AS levels in these 6 subjects, predominantly received a lot of A's. And then it goes down to the B's, but very few of them, very, very few of them performed poorly. So here we drilled down to kind of give you a little snapshot of some of the courses that we did subsequent course performance with, such as calculus with analytic geometry, principles of macroeconomics, and social psychology are a few examples. One of the things I've done for some other states, if you're interested, is I've drilled down. Say if you're really interested in math or any of these subjects, we can get the data drilled down into that specific subject for you. The overall findings were that the Cambridge students passed the subsequent courses with a C or higher, 98% of Cambridge International students with A and AS levels. And then the control group passed at a 91% at a C or higher. So it confirmed that Cambridge students are performing at par or above their colleagues in the control groups at their institution. Quick snapshot on the FSU graduation rate by credit hour. One of the things we find is when institutions place a student appropriately into a subsequent course, it actually helps the institution's graduation rates because it helps them with retention, the student's not duplicating work, and the institution is not losing resources as far as money, because the students typically still complete a full 4 years. It's very rare that one of our students would not complete at least 4 years, but it helps the institution's graduation rate. The student flourishes, and I think it's a win-win for everyone. Another thing we've been working on for a few years, and we just got the results in November, is the American Council on Education. We got our first review of exams. And down here on the left, you can see the exams we submitted were for AS levels. In the US, most of our students take AS levels. Internationally, predominantly, you see a lot of A levels. AS level credit's really important to us because our system in the US goes through grade 12. And so our schools can't offer as many full A levels. However, what I noted here in the ACE recommendations is that when I scanned the AZTransfer equivalencies, it appears that most of your institutions are giving really good credit for biology, chemistry, math, psychology. Now, thinking skills is one of those skills-based courses like global perspectives and research that we offer. So those can be a little trickier in trying to figure out where they fit. But this particular recommendation that came out was that thinking skills is equivalent to logics. So it had a high component, and you're welcome to go look at the actual recommendations. They're published on ACE's National Guide online, and these are for a grade of E or above. We just approved doing another set for this fall that will include both A and AS levels. So we'll do another round of courses every year until we have probably the core gen ed courses covered. With that, I may have come up a little. I was thinking we would have Q&A involved in this. So Kelly, do you want to?
We can. I mean, we have 5 minutes. If you want to do your Q&A, I just didn't want it. It's 11:15, so we do have 5 minutes if people want to ask questions about your part right now. We'll just make sure we switch over at 11:20.
Okay, great. Either way. So I was just wondering, is there anything you want me to unpack more fully for you? Because I'm happy to back up any slides.
I know that, Adina, you've been presenting, and so you haven't really been looking at the chat, but we have had a request
For
access to these slides.
Oh, definitely.
So is there a way that we can get, okay, perfect.
Oh, thank you for bringing me to that. I should have looked. Yes, this is the most important thing. And I'm going to actually just back up on my slides real quick here. And oops, the thing I call the faculty toolkit, I'm going to send these slides, but I'm also going to send a direct link. What it is it's a SharePoint site that has packaged with the curriculum name. The A and AS levels are packaged together, usually in one large curriculum. It can be as much as 90 pages with the student learning outcomes, the content and everything. And also packaged with them are all those rubrics, the exams, and anything else that you might possibly want to review, like sample student questions and so forth. So I will make all that accessible. Did I miss any other questions?
So, and if people do have questions, you can either reach out to Sienna or I will likely connect you directly with Adina about that. One of the things we often hear is just, we don't have a lot of Cambridge in our schools yet, or they're concentrated in this one area. And so we've been trying to spread the word about Cambridge and where it is populated in different counties and different areas throughout the state.
Awesome.
But if we hear from people, we will definitely pass that on to you. Oh, we did have one in the chat from Patty. Okay. It says, not being familiar with the Cambridge model, are students enrolled in the US in particular schools or programs?
That's a great question, Patty. I had a slide I pulled, but we predominantly in the US, we're in 93% public high schools. And our niche is sort of to fill in wherever, students are looking for another option for programs. A lot of times you will actually find us in the same schools with AP programs, and students will take a mixture of both. And we find this somewhat across the world. So I hope that answers your question. It really depends on what the school is looking for and what types of, unique programs we offer that would complement their student body.
All right. Thank you, Adina. All right. Next, we're 2 minutes ahead of schedule, unless there's anything else for Adina. But we'll just chug right along then. Suzanne, if you want to talk to us a bit about advanced placement and anything you also have about CLEP or resources to get us connected with CLEP afterwards.
There we go. There's the mute button. Hello. Thank you. I really appreciate being here today. My name is Suzanne McGurk, and I am the Senior Director of Higher Education Policy at the College Board. I work with both AP and CLEP, so I welcome those CLEP questions. As we get started here, let me get my slideshow going. Sorry, my buttons aren't working. There we go. Okay. Can you see the slideshow now? Wonderful. So I just want to start by saying I'm your primary contact if you have any questions about AP or CLEP. I welcome that direct contact, and my email address is at the end of this presentation, which I'm glad to share. I had planned to primarily talk about 2 new AP courses that are in development right now. And since I don't have slides, just for some general talking points, I'm just going to speak to them on this first slide. I do want to let you know that We're very thankful for the participation that we have broadly across Arizona for both AP and CLEP. This is a deep-seated relationship and something that we very much value. We see a lot of student success coming out of Arizona based on their CLEP participation and based on their AP participation. And that's something that we want to nurture and continue. So certainly glad to be part of this conversation today, and I really appreciate the invitation. I'm coming to you today. I'm in a hotel room. I'm in Salt Lake City. I am on site for one of the AP readings. If you're not very familiar with AP, once a year we offer AP exams. Those wrapped up in May. And then in June, we bring faculty and high school teachers on site to score those exams. So we have cities around the country where we convene different faculty for different subjects. But I am here in Salt Lake City. I love coming to the one in Salt Lake City because that's where they score all of the art and design exams. And so you get to see all of the artwork. All that artwork is actually shipped in here into a room about the size of a football field, and they have tables after tables after tables with the portfolios of students that is being reviewed by the subject matter experts from across the country that are here for about a week looking at that artwork, but also they're here to score the written portion of the AP exam. Of course, the multiple choices scored electronically, but all of this is a very intensive, it's thousands of people here. It's a great professional development opportunity if you have faculty that you're interested in offering an opportunity to. We are constantly recruiting higher ed faculty to come in and help us score AP exams once a year. Again, it's just a week that the commitment is, but it's a paid professional development opportunity. So if you're interested in that, again, reach out to me. In terms of resources for AP and for CLEP, we have very robust web pages, and I'll send links to those that can be shared along with this presentation. The AP Central is the easiest place to go to get all of the information you would ever need about an AP course and exam. Our course and exam guides are usually about 200 pages long. They do offer the sample exams. They have all of the development committee listed, and they give an in-depth view of what the course covers and the pacing for that course, which is also very critical to make sure that all of the content that we find critical for a course can be covered in a typical high school year. For CLEP, also, that website gives all the information you would need about the CLEP offerings and the CLEP content for CLEP exams. Now, CLEP, of course, is different because CLEP can be taken any time of the year. So when students are ready, that's when they can sign up for a CLEP exam, and they do that typically on your college campuses. High school participation in CLEP is our fastest growing market right now, and that's something that we're really seeing of interest in schools where there just isn't an AP program or other higher ed early credit opportunities, particularly in rural areas. So we're very happy to offer both opportunities. And again, I'm very glad to be your resource for both of those. I'm going to move away just from general AP and CLEP information to specifically talking about two new AP courses that are in development. And I just want to give you a little bit of information about those as we get started. We are looking at, I don't know why my keys are, there we go. So we are looking at two new courses, African American Studies and AP Pre-Calculus. And these are ones that have come upon us as ones that are of most interest to high schools in terms of expanding outreach to students, but also of interest to higher education. That's the sweet spot that we need to hit when we're looking at a new course for AP. It's not just important to us that it has a good footprint across the country in high schools, but we have to make sure that institutions of higher education are willing to consider it for college credit. And that's one of the primary responsibilities that I have this year, is to seek commitment from higher education to give credit for both pre-calculus and African American Studies. The premise, of course, with AP is that you're going to have this opportunity after taking rigorous high school content to be able to earn credit in college. And if we were to offer a course and then not do the due diligence to make sure that credit would be available, it really would be very disingenuous of us to do that for students. We want to make sure that if we're going to offer it, it's going to be available for students to get that credit. So let's take a look at African American Studies. This is one that we are so excited about. With African American Studies, we really think we have the opportunity here to change the invitation for who is considering themselves an AP student. We know through diligent work at the College Board that an African American student in the United States is more likely to attend a high school that has an AP program than a white student is or than an Asian student is. But we also know that Black students are less likely to actually be participating in the AP program. We have worked very hard to get AP into as many high schools as possible, and it has a very broad footprint across the United States, but we just weren't seeing that change of students moving into the AP program, even though the diversity in the high schools was there. We started to see a big change when we launched computer science principles in 2017. This is one that definitely seemed to change the invitation for students who had never been part of high school computer science, and all of a sudden we saw a very great interest of women students and also of minority students, particularly Black students, who were interested in computer sciences. So we know that offering the right AP subjects can change the trajectory of who is interested in AP. And we certainly think that African American Studies is going to be very inviting to students who've never seen themselves fully represented in classrooms. This is one that has been the most exciting to offer. We've been investigating this course for 10 years at the College Board. What we found in the 10 years ago when we considered launching this course is that higher ed was not quite ready to give credit for this course. So we didn't launch it 10 years ago. But now we're seeing a significant shift. Institutions of higher education are very interested in this course, and they're very interested in offering credit. In fact, in your neighborhood, we just got commitment from New Mexico. All public institutions in New Mexico will award credit for African American Studies as a general education course. We're also seeing the same thing in Colorado, and Nevada will also be offering credit for African American Studies. So this is work that's just in your neighborhood, but we're also seeing that work across the country where more and more states are stepping up and saying, yes, count us in. We want to show support for this so that this course can be launched. So why is it important to build this course now? We really feel like with the impact of COVID on vulnerable students that we need to do everything that we can to engage these students in the higher education pipeline. We know that there's interest from students in this course. We're starting to see more and more interest from higher ed, which we're tremendously excited about. And we know that this will diversify pipelines. We're thinking also not just of the student pipeline, but of the teacher pipeline, which is equally important here. And we expect that within 5 years of the launch of this course, that there will be hundreds of thousands of students who previously did not have exposure to African American Studies in their high schools, having that exposure and getting that opportunity. We just one quick snippet, we have 63 pilot schools across the country. One of those happens to be in Ohio. In Ohio, the school announced that they were going to launch it, and they had over 80 students say, you have to let me in, you have to let me in. Now, I'm not sure how they're going to sort that out when they have one course to put those students in, but we expect this to be of tremendous interest. African American Studies is already taught in high schools across the country. This will just elevate it to allow that college credit opportunity, but we also think it will also expand the opportunity for teaching it. So it's not new to high schools, but we definitely think the ability to expand the reach is there. Here's a timeline for the course. So we started the course research and the design sketches in 2021. In spring of 2022, we convened the inaugural development committee, and we also had a convening of 168 faculty members from across the country who participated in the African American Symposium. They were exposed to the course framework at that time and gave feedback on it. We made some adjustments to that framework based on their comments. The comments were overwhelmingly positive, and the support from that group is really certainly something that we appreciate and found very gratifying. So this fall, we'll launch the first round of pilots in high schools. There will be an exam in the spring, but it will not be publicly shared. So no exam scores will go out for that first year of pilot. The second year of pilot will be in the fall of 2023. In the spring of 2024, there will also be an exam that year, and those scores will be shared with institutions of higher ed. So the first time that you could expect to see exam scores from this course will be in the summer of 2024. And then in the fall of 2024, assuming that we get sufficient higher ed commitment to launch this course, then we will launch this course nationally in the fall of 2024. We have fully fleshed out all of the learning outcomes. I am not going to read these to you, but again, I will share these slides with you so that you can see what the learning outcomes are for this course. The 4 units are here listed. This is a course that will show the design of this course will allow for the thematic units that will follow a chronological structure. One thing that they are going to do at the beginning of this course is introduce it as an academic discipline. So many of those 168 faculty members that we brought together in March said that when they first got to college and found out that African American Studies was a discipline, they had no idea that it was a discipline. And so we think it's very important for students to understand you can go to college and you can study biology and history and Spanish, and African American Studies is right there with all the other disciplines that you can study in college. This is the sample exam that we have. There will be an extended essay, 20% source-based objective questions, and this is really exciting to us. We're going to have so many authentic sources that will be available for this course. We're partnering with the Smithsonian, and we'll have access to their digital library of sources that will be available to teachers and students to use in the classrooms. So questions that will appear in that source-based objective questions will appear in sets of 3 to 4 questions, with each set requiring examination of 1 or more sources. So learning about sources and how they work and learning how to utilize them will be critical through the class, because it will be 60% at the final. And then there will be the open-ended writing at the end, which will also be 20% of the exam. And that's the end of African American Studies. I'm going to move into pre-calculus now. So with pre-calculus, we are very excited about this. This isn't breaking into a new discipline like African American Studies, but we still feel like this one changes the invitation, because not every student is ready for calculus, even though they might want to take some kind of AP math. So we think that this one gives students that opportunity. We also know that not every student is prepared for calculus, and not every student is going to need calculus when they get to college. So we feel like there is a real need for AP pre-calculus. AP pre-calculus, the course framework has been developed. It was developed this spring, and that's something that I can share with this group along with the African American Studies course framework. The other things that are taking place with this course, we're going to review the course and exam description will be available in the spring of 2023. That's particularly of interest to high school, so that they can see what's going to be taught in the course and how the pacing will go. That's when teachers can start to do the course audit, and that's when they would provide their syllabus to us for review so that we can approve them to teach the course. We will offer AP Summer Institutes to teach teachers how to teach the course. Those will be in the summer of 2023. And then in the fall of 2023, this will be the full launch of the course, and with the first exam being in May 2024. So in May 2024 would be the first time that you would see scores from this exam. AP pre-calculus has been fully approved, so we do expect this to launch fully. We are very excited about this launch. We think that the pathways here are very evident, but just to quickly explain, for a student who takes Algebra 1 in the 9th grade, this is going to allow that student to fit pre-calculus into their curriculum before they graduate, so that they can have that rigorous 4th year math before they move to college. This can strengthen that STEM pipeline. And for students who are very prepared and know what they want to do and take Algebra 1 in the 8th grade, this is going to allow students then to get into AP Calculus. So they could take their normal math pathway, get pre-calculus in there, and then calculus their senior year. Alternately, for students who have not been focused as highly on math in high school to take 8th grade Algebra 1, this is a class that will allow students to potentially get that rigorous coursework done, earn that potential for credit while they're still in high school. So when they get to college, there's no question that they would need any developmental math, that they would have that first math credit under their belt. And that could potentially, depending on their major, be their math requirement. And they could just move on and focus on their major. So we really feel like, much like your pre-calculus courses, this will serve two purposes. Simply put, it will either be preparation for calculus and move students into STEM majors, or it could be the penultimate math that a student needs to take and they've met their math requirements and they move on with the rest of their requirements. These are the 4 units that will be covered in pre-calculus in the order that they'll be offered, and that also has the number of weeks that are allotted to teach each of these areas. And then this is a snapshot of the exam. So there will be multiple choice questions and then free response questions. As with all of our exams, they both have one. And those free response questions are what are being scored here for the other exams in Salt Lake City and other cities around the country right now. And so I've put my email address here. I'll put it in the chat, and then I'll make sure and share this with CN so that you all have the information. And I'll also share the course frameworks for both of these courses. So again, pre-calculus is a go. African American Studies, we are still looking for commitment. If you want more information about African American Studies, if you'd like me to talk with your faculty, if there's an opportunity for Arizona to raise its hand and say, yes, this is a course we're interested in, we will be awarding credit. I think it fits right in with your AP credit policy in Arizona. So just let me know, because we definitely need to tally who is interested in awarding credit so that we can make that commitment to offer this course. So I'll turn it back over to you, Kelly and Cian. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. All right. And then we'll finish up. Jake and or Amy to round out our discussion about International Baccalaureate, and then open to any additional questions that we have for any of our presenters.
All right. Hey, sounds good. I'm a little laggy here. Can you hear me, Kelly? Okay. I'm up at the Arizona School Administrators Conference up here in Flagstaff this weekend, so the hotel internet's a little laggy. So I've invited Amy Baumke. She's going to share a little bit more with you all about the IB program, in particular our diploma program. Just want to thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll have an opportunity to answer some of your questions as well. So Amy, take it away.
All right, so we will see. I don't know that our presentation is quite as flashy, but just a little information about our program. So we are not representatives of the IB organization. Jake and I are both diploma program coordinators, and so we represent all of the coordinators and IB diploma program teachers in the state. So wanted to give you a little overview about the program and what kind of advocacy we're trying to have for our courses and credit transfer, and what the program is about. So what makes the IB program unique? It's rigorous. It's an 11th and 12th grade diploma program. So it's for students who are seeking personal and academic growth. So the personal growth is part of what makes it unique. They are all weighted honors courses, but the students who do the diploma program are also doing a lot of personal growth. We are trying to have, inquiring, knowledgeable, caring young people, compassionate learners. International awareness is obviously a huge part of it. The IB program has been around for about over 40 years, and there are over 150 schools or nations around the world who have IB programs. We want students to have a positive learning. We do a lot of research skill, critical thinking, and our full diploma students participate in community service. We have two options, which is kind of part of what makes the program unique. The full diploma students are taking all IB courses and then have an extra set of requirements that is part of the core. But we also allow students to take individual IB courses. So we do have students who are taking 1, 2, sometimes up to 4 IB courses and not doing the full diploma program. So there is some different requirements that colleges have for that, or different concessions that they make for students because of that, whether they're doing courses or full diploma. So a course student can, just like with an AP course, for example, get credit for that course that they're taking. But there are universities who recognize full diploma students and give them additional concessions beyond just getting credit for the course. This is just an example of like what our matrix looks like at our high school. So students in IB in general, if they are a full diploma student, they are taking classes in all of these groups. The only courses that are represented here are the courses that our school specifically has. So they're doing language and literature, they're doing language acquisition, individuals and societies, experimental sciences, mathematics, and an art or an elective course. And again, students can participate in the full diploma or take individual IB courses. All of our courses are listed as SL and HL. They are all weighted honors courses. SL means standard level, but it does not mean on level. HL, it's like honors. HL is like honors plus, so it has a higher expectation. Students are expected to do more learning in that course, have deeper understanding, complete more work in the course. All HL courses are required to be 2-year courses. Most SL courses, and individual schools can decide, SL courses can be 1-year courses, or they can be 2-year courses. It just means that you're spreading out the learning over the 2 years. But if a student is a diploma student, they can only test in 2 classes their junior year. So for the most part, most schools have most of their SL courses also be 2-year courses. The core, so the extra courses that our students, or the extra requirements for students who are in the diploma program, they participate in CAS, which is creativity, activity, and service. It is not an extra course, but it is an extra requirement for our students. They're participating in approximately at least 150 hours over the 2 years of creative work, physical fitness activity, and service work. And they keep reflective journals about what they've done. So it really, I think, is preparing students for a lot of reflective work that they're doing at the university level. TOK, Theory of Knowledge, is an extra course that students take. It's a half course, so it's generally not an everyday course. Ours take it two days a week over the 2 years, and it is kind of a critical thinking, a little bit of philosophy, a little bit of psychology course that they take in addition. And all students in the diploma program also complete on their own, outside of class, an extended essay, which is a 4,000-word research paper. It is extremely in-depth. It is definitely university level research. My background is, before becoming a DP coordinator here, I was a senior lecturer at Indiana University and taught Spanish for 18 years there. So definitely the work that I've seen students do is very much university level and really in-depth research that they do. And they choose the subject area and they choose the topic that they want to do. And they work with a faculty mentor, one of our teachers who works with them. As far as assessment for IB students, it's a little different than with other credit by examination. Our students do 2 different things. They do internal assessments, which means that it is part of their IB course. So they actually complete some sort of it can be a paper, project, oral exam, portfolio, series of experiment. It's specific to whatever the course is. And they complete that in the course. It is graded by their own teacher, and that becomes part of that final score that students achieve. It can be anywhere. It's generally 25 to 35% of that final IB score that students achieve. The other part of the assessment is the external assessment. Almost every course has, well, they all have external assessments. Sometimes it is, for most courses, it is sitting for exams at the end. For art courses, it's not. So for visual arts, they do a portfolio. But other courses, they sit for exams at the end. The exams are very writing based. They, very rarely is there anything that has a component of multiple choice. But most of them are very much where they are having to analyze something on the exam that they have not seen before, but they're having to use skills that they've learned in the course to actually do their analysis. And then they're also bringing in work from the class and using that as part of their analysis. And that's the way that they can grade these exams that are done all around the world. So a student who is taking literature in China is not reading the same works that a student in the United States in Arizona might be reading. However, the skills that they're learning, the critical thinking, the analytical skills should be similar. And so that's what they're being graded on their exams. So the IBDP in universities, there is a really big advantage to students. There have been a lot of studies that IBDP students have higher rates of admission to universities. There are DP specific scholarships at a lot of universities, including NAU, U of A, GCU, give DP specific scholarships to students. Some universities award sophomore standing to students who were specifically diploma recipients, and preference for honors college admission. So our students do really well when they get to the university level. And even students who don't pursue the diploma can earn college credit and benefit from their IB learning experience. So for example, University of Arizona, they've got an IBDP scholarship, $5,000 a year for our students, and they offer credit for HL courses. And that's one of the areas that I'm going to talk about, advocacy, and what we would like to see some changes to credit offered. Northern Arizona also has a $5,000 a year for IBDP recipients. They offer credit for most SL and HL courses. Grand Canyon University does too. ASU does not have a DP, so we have talked to representatives from ASU before, and we would like to see something that's specific for them. But our students do very well at getting scholarships at ASU because they are recognized as being really great students. But other universities, for example, University of Nebraska-Lincoln, students can earn up to 28 credit hours for being a DP student. And they have an out-of-state scholarship that's $15,000 a year. Townsend University. So again, students that earn a DP are awarded 30 units towards a bachelor's degree. So that is fairly common. There are many states that actually have that written into their, that they have state laws that all of their public universities, if a student earns the diploma, that they are awarded sophomore standing. So that includes Texas, Florida, Kansas, Colorado, I believe. So there are several that do that, and Tulsa. So some of the things, so some of the facts about our students, again, with some of the research that's been done on DP students, they generally feel more comfortable with research because they have done so much research in IB courses. They're much more likely and willing to engage in future research than their non-IB peers. College retention rates for IB students is awesome. It's really high. So 79% of IBDP recipients complete university degrees in 4 years. The national average is 39%. So higher retention, success in college, and they tend to make more contributions to campus life because they're already used to balancing that creativity, activity, and service and being involved in the campus. They tend to transfer that over to university as well and participate in research and internships and community engagement. So we do have subject briefs. Let me see if it'll take, it'll probably knock off my screen share, I bet. Right, so it's not sharing this new screen, is it? I'll have to. All right, so let me do it. Let me do a new share. Let me see here. All right, can you see that one now? The course selection guidance. So these are the subject briefs. They're really short briefs that give all of our courses. So these are all of the IB courses that are offered. And it gives a short brief as to what is expected in that course for students. Let's see here. So let's see if it'll show this one. So that's like a language A1 right there. So and I don't know if you can see it, but it gives a description in the aims. It tells you how many hours they're spent doing different parts of the course. SL courses have a minimum of 150 hours that they have to complete. HL have 240 hours that they complete. But as I said, a lot of times our SL courses, we spread them over 2 years as well. It gives you an idea about what the assessment model looks like, what they have to do for their assessment, how it's weighted, how much time they spend doing it. So it just gives a really short brief about it. As far as exams, they don't release exams to the public for people to look at, but that is something that, like, if Jake or I were, if somebody wanted to see what an exam for a particular subject looked like, you could probably you could contact one of us and we could get you a copy of what an SL and an HL exam. The examinations are very rigorous. I mean, they do take a couple of days. They're many hours, so they are pretty rigorous in what they are accomplishing. Let me see here, and then the last few things. Let's see here. So what we would like to see and what we are advocating for our members of our IB schools is that we would like to see Arizona universities more in line with some of the credit that we see from other universities. We do have a lot of students who tend to stay in state because they do get really good in-state scholarships here. However, they don't always see the love in the credit that they're getting for courses. So, if you've taken a 2-year honors course that is doing lab research, and then you get to college and you find out that because it's an SL course, you're not going to get any credit for it. That's a little bit tough. So we would like to see a little bit of exploration, and maybe that we can work with universities to figure out what courses, maybe should get more credit, and revisit credit given for some HL and SL courses. And one that I picked out, and that's near and dear to my own heart as a foreign language teacher. And I've graded AP exams in the past. I've taught at the college level, I've taught at the high school level. So I do know what students do in these foreign language classes. And this is an example, not picking on U of A. I just pulled it out because that's the closest university to us. But for example, if a student takes an AP exam and they score a 5, they're getting credit for these courses. They're getting credit for 201, 202, 251, and 325 with a 5 in the course. And we do have, our Spanish is not taught concurrently, but for example, our French and our German classes are small enough that we actually those teachers are teaching AP and IB together. So they really know what the curriculum for each of them look like. And there are curriculum differences, but it's more thematic. It is not in difficulty level. So the students are really accomplishing about the same difficulty level. The only differences would be like HL IB students do more than SL IB students, but they're in the same class. So there are times where they split off and HL are doing harder work or more advanced. They're doing some literature work. So there are areas where they split off, but those courses are taught in the same class and the difficulty level is about the same. So in comparison, this is what U of A gives for IB credit. So IB exams are scored from 1 to 7. We don't, there's not a passing score. Some people will say a 4, some people will say a 5. Most, colleges, depends on the class. They might give credit for 4s, they might give credits for 5, but 7 is the highest. And 7s are extremely difficult to get in most courses, especially HL courses. They are very difficult to get. But you can see that if a student scores the highest score that they can for the HL, they're getting credit only up to 202. So they are getting 2 classes less than a student scoring the highest on the Spanish AP exam. And really, from what I've seen from the curriculum of both of those classes, my own daughter took AP Spanish as a sophomore and then took IB Spanish to be a part of the DP program. And to see the differences between them, it's not 2 courses different. And then here, if a student gets a 4, they get 1 semester of credit, which is extremely low for somebody who has had 4 years of a foreign language. In addition, students who take an at U of A, students who take an SL language, again, they've had 4 years of a foreign language. They don't receive any foreign language credit. So they would have to go in and take the placement exam to place out, but they don't automatically. So after 4 years of taking a foreign language, they don't get any automatic credit. So that's some of what we would like to see. So I'm welcome to take any questions. I didn't have a chance to, read through the chats and see what they said.
I was muted. It looks like Jake answered one of the questions that was.
Oh, good. Thanks, Jake.
Okay.
Hey, thanks you guys. Again, sorry, but Amy, great job.
Okay, so do we have any questions in general about credit by exam or directed to any one organization? Any other things that you typically hear from faculty that they didn't cover or have an answer for, or anything else that you would like to be prepared with for our faculty meetings this fall? All right. Well, with that very pregnant pause, I hope nobody's on mute clamoring through their statements and questions, but everybody shared their contact information in the chat. You can email us your slides and we will forward them out to the group today. One of the questions in the chat, will this information be shared with faculty before the ATF meetings this fall? That's a great idea. Maybe we'll send these slides out. I'll work with my strategic communications person and see if we can get that out to faculty, or we can give it to you guys and you can email it to your ATFs. We'll work on a communication plan for that specifically and get that out. All right, thank you all for your time today. I know it was right in the middle of the workday and right in the middle of the summer. We appreciate having you guys with us and we will be in touch. Okay.
Hey, Kelly, you have just a second?
Of course, Shelley, go ahead.
Sorry, I was trying to do it in chat, but I don't think I was fast enough. It looks like U of A does award Spanish 101 credit for a score of 4.
Okay, which
yeah,
was
so I just wanted
IB?
to give you the heads up. Yeah, for the IB.
Okay.
So
and maybe we can follow up with her. I don't know if that was old or maybe she was looking in a different place.
I don't feel defensive at all. I thought I'm going to do my homework here. I just looked up the table and we do award credit for that. So just
okay. I will follow up. That was the first time I've met Amy. I've gotten to know Jake pretty well. I mean, minus the pandemic over the past few years. They have an organization that they get all of their teachers together. But I will pass it on so they know.
So thanks, Kelly. And thanks for bringing them in. Those presentations were really useful. Thank you.
And, that's been something that we've been trying to do in the past. We've invited them to the summit and they've come in different ways. We wanted to have them here. And everybody has a different opinion about credit by exam versus enrolling in college classes. And we just want to provide information about the options and opportunities to students. I have 2 to-do items from the chat. One of them was asking about a list of high schools that offer certain exams. I think I most recently did it either this spring or last fall. And it has stayed about the same, but if we think in big buckets, there are about 500 high schools in Arizona. Advanced placement is offered at about 200 of those high schools. International Baccalaureate is at about 30, like 3 dozen, and Cambridge is available at about 12. One of the things that Jake put in the chat, for example, Mesa Public School System, they have 6 high schools in Mesa, and they will bus students to the one high school that offers International Baccalaureate. So even though it's only offered at Westwood High School in the Mesa School District, it is available to all the students in the Mesa District, and they are bused there. So sometimes those counts get a little bit complicated, but I will look and see if I can find that and send the most recent information that I have. Sometimes that data does have a lag and depends on faculty credentials and high school teacher availability and stuff like that. But I will send that out. That's the first to do.
Kelly. And I could be reading the table wrong too. I don't know, but it looks like we do award it. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Very much.
And then the second to-do item I have was from Stacy Naughton asking if there would be a way that we could share some of that information with faculty. I'm thinking, CN, we can talk to Erin about either putting that out as a communication to all faculty, or if we put it in our video library, we could easily put something in our video library available to people, or even a portion of this recording or something if we could edit this recording to just have those. We'll figure something out and get that to them. Okay. So CN, I can turn it over to you to wrap up for today and get us, our sights set on what we're going to be accomplishing tomorrow. And I can jump in with anything that you want me to as well. But we really, normally we would have started with a lot more context today and setting things up, but our 3 credit by exam people were only available today and only available in common for that 1 hour. So that's why we kind of disrupted our schedule today without getting started on too much content for the ATF meetings. Oh, you're muted, Cian. You're muted still.
Okay, got it. It takes me a minute, but I found what I needed. Okay, Kelly, thank you for inviting them to come. I took great notes. I found it very, very informative because, as everyone else has, I've sat in these ATF meetings, listened to faculty, discuss these tests and transfer credit for exams, and I have felt like I have not known enough to help instruct or to contribute to the conversation at all. But I feel like I have a lot more grasp on expectations and what these exam companies have done to boost credit transfer or content or rigor or whatever it may be. And I think it's good to keep in mind that it's that some student out there is taking a class that they think is going to transfer. And how surprising it would be for it to not. So I think that our communication needs to be as accurate as transfer pathways to communicate those things, to make sure that the students are aware, and to also work on those transfer pathways to award credit where credit is due. So thank you for doing that. So as you can see, we're kind of at the end. We're running about 30 minutes ahead of schedule, which is not a bad thing. You get 30 minutes back in your day. Just as a preview for what we will be doing tomorrow, that's really where a lot of our heavier lifting will go or will take places tomorrow. We'll talk about expectations for the 2023 ATF season. We will talk through some of our meeting tips that we have for you. We hope that some of our seasoned facilitators will jump in, and this would be a great place to talk through any big problems that we had last year and to remind ourselves of what our workaround solutions were. We hope that we've plugged some of those holes, but this is a great place for us to review some of those things in preparation for what's coming up. And then we also have a few, at least one improvement for our system from last year, and then meeting wrap up. And that's all we've got. So I hope that you guys received this agenda. I sent it out over the weekend. We might end up ending early again tomorrow as well, but we will be recording that session as well in the event that we need to review any of these things. So that's what I've got. Kelly, do you have anything else?
I was just going to re-emphasize, if this is your first year facilitating a meeting, we have much more information to share with you, but we don't cover it in this format because we have a combination of skill sets and experience doing this. And all of that is available both in the chat lines and in the virtual binder. So if you're thinking like, man, this was a lot less than I thought it was going to be, it's because we're counting on you to do that on your own time, to look through the videos that we have. We've recorded meetings from previous years that show how people have facilitated them. We have recorded previous statewide updates. We've uploaded previous years worth of trainings. I think it was the 2020 training that we recorded and that we have available both day 1 and day 2. And I think even that year we had a day 3 that goes over the nitty gritty and the technical skills and actual things that you will be covering in the ATF meeting. We are not doing that today and tomorrow. And so if that is confusing to you, or if you're a little blindsided by that, please first direct your attention to the chat lines, the facilitator corner, the video library, and the virtual binder. If you can't find what you're looking for, please be in touch with Sienna and I. But we have tried, and I got to give the majority of the credit to Sienna because it was really her brainchild and her work over the last 2 years. But we have tried to make all of that information as accessible and in an asynchronous way for you, that we didn't have to take everybody's time to reiterate over and over and over again some things that people have done for many years. But that is all available to you, right down to every single thing that you need to say. In the last year, we updated the statewide update and I recorded it, so you didn't have to go through that 30 or 40-minute presentation. We will be doing that again this year, unless everybody says, man, I really liked, mumbling through that myself. But we will go over that again. But I strongly encourage you, if you are assigned an ATF meeting to facilitate, and it is your first year, you go through those resources so you have a realistic idea of what we're expecting you to do. You can also sit in on somebody's meeting if you want to sit in on a meeting, but we have also recorded all of the meetings for you so that you can view one at your leisure. Do you think that's a pretty comprehensive look at it, Sian?
Absolutely. And I just want to remind everybody again, please take a few minutes today, go through your virtual binder, try and click the links, make sure they work. I should get a little notification that they do, and we can meet back tomorrow.
All right. Anything else before we shut this down today and reconvene tomorrow? One of my favorite things to give people is the gift of more time. So we scheduled you till 12:30, but we want to be, respectful of your time. If you need to stay on and ask some questions, Sienna and I will be here for the next 15-20 minutes. Otherwise, we will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m.